It was in the early spring of 1952. 8 young men of our little village, whom most of the townspeople knew on a first-name basis, who had died fighting in World War II, was still a vivid memory. And this little old fishing village on the southeastern coast of Connecticut, Stonington Borough, population around 2,400, and referred to nowadays mostly as the village, was about to become the subject of a government-sanctioned film of how our little community went about on Memorial Day, honoring in remembrance its gallant sons who had fallen in battle. Well do I remember the excitement that prevailed throughout the old borough as the camera crews traveled about in early mornings, filming the peaceful background scenes for possible use in the proposed documentary. But especially well do I recall that rainy Saturday afternoon when we flocked to the movie theater in neighboring Western Rhode Island to watch with pride as our village, friends and neighbors, came upon the big silver screen. Time passed, and our little hamlet beside the Atlantic went back to sleep. But local townspeople went on remembering, and the question as to whatever happened to the film has down through the years often been the subject of many a discussion at the village barbershop. Symbolized by this setting of a pink geranium set upon a section of old wood post, symbolic of one that has supported this community's honor roll, which at one time has stood on this site, but some 25 or 30 years ago had deteriorated into oblivion, been a source of much lament to many old-time residents, and no plaque or anything of the sort has since the loss of the honor roll been erected to commemorate at least the 8 young men whose names had appeared on that board but never did return to their beloved village by the sea. With the approaching of the 50th anniversary of the end of World War II, and recalling the old days when the borough fell out en masse to honor its war dead, the thought occurred to me if I could find the old Memorial Day film, then through the process of editing and adding the appropriate captions, ever hopefully by Memorial Day of this anniversary year, I could have the film shown on local cable television, dedicated to the proposition that our village has not forgotten its sons who had laid down their lives in order to achieve that day of victory 50 years ago. And with this thought in mind, in the late winter of '95, I began my quest to find the long-lost film. Having at one time heard that the film had been given to the town, I began my search with a visit to the Nathaniel Palmer House, now the home of the village's Historical Society. Here it was suggested that I take a look to the Society's archives in the basement of the village library to learn that the film had indeed been given to the people of the township. Thus the Society felt it rightfully belonged in the archives of the town clerk. So off I went to the town hall, Though the staff was most cooperative, it was quickly obvious that they knew little about the film and, of course, much less as to its possible whereabouts. Time passed, and what at times seemed like promising leads proved futile, and I began to wonder if any such film any longer existed. And then one day, I received a call from a man who lived at the end of this laneway, who wished to purchase a video that I previously made about Stonington Village. Greeting me outside his home, and in the course of some idle chatter, this gentleman casually stated he had the old Memorial Day film, and here I quote, somewhere up in my attic. And on that lovely morning in May of 1996, my quest to find the long-lost film had finally come to a successful conclusion.
Up our way in the spring, when the leaves get all the way out and when the wind starts blowing warm from the south, we folks in Stonington know that that's a day we plan for. Of course, we do our remembering all the year round, but Memorial Day is something special. Our town is in eastern Connecticut. Southward, we stick out into the ocean where most of us got our living for the last 300 years. Our fishing fleet is in, after dragging for mackerel and cod around Long Island. Drying and mending nets, getting ready for tomorrow. Many of our Navy boys were fishermen first. Here it is, the 29th of May, and tomorrow will be Memorial Day. That's what the skipper of the Rita says, Anton Broderick. Take our 3 factories. Here we make plastics. The workers will be off tomorrow. So says Manuel Nixie. He's commander of the Legion, and he ought to know. Down on Water Street in his drugstore, Bunny Manos has put up his photographs. Every year we like to stop and look. Red Reese, he was a sergeant. Jerry Farrar, he's been in Africa. 6 Wood brothers, the 7th couldn't make it. Paratrooper Keski, he was killed in Holland. The 5 Vincent brothers. All over the world our fellows went. On the outskirts of town, the Boy Scouts were decorating the graves. They exchanged old flags for new ones. We do this every year, even put in British ones. We had some shooting in 1814 when the British fleet bombarded our town. This was our fort. These guns held them off. George Fellows and 6 others were danged and determined no enemy would give more than he got. So we gave. Yeah. And some of what we got we kept. Somebody was a bad shot. Here is the Borough School on Church Street. Nancy Day is starting grade 5 in the Memorial Day exercises. Everybody was there except Danny Porter. Seems that Danny's parents are away for the day up in Providence, but young Danny's got a telegram that means considerable to his family, so he hot puts it across Cannon Square. The old 508 goes up to Providence in the morning and hauls back the commuters come night. All around here call her, kindly of course, the Lollipop. Today it's bringing home Roy Porter, hospitalman 3rd class for 1 week leave. Home from Korea he was, with 2 years service. Now there was not a soul to meet him. Roy had lost a close buddy. That fact was hanging heavy on him. Even the baggage man, Red Kendall, was too concerned with his baggage to notice another sailor home from service. But some people had other ideas. Just one more look before Roy shoves off. No, by criminy, it was Danny. Glad to see him, that's more than for sure. Then for a moment, Roy was afraid that Danny was going to bawl. He didn't want that. To Roy, Danny had shot up like a weed, bigger and fatter. Well, 2 years is a long time. They had things to do. It was Roy's hometown. The same, but different, it seemed. Smaller, tighter. Yeah. No matter how far we swing out across the world, there's nothing like a street of our own home port. George Freighter's painting up for tomorrow. One of the first to spot Roy. Yes, sir. Give him the glad hand. Roy was always a shy, reserved fella. Folks thought of him that way, but everyone knew Roy. And Pat Dwyer, he'd come home once, same way. Now Pat's trimming up around the honor roll board on the green, getting ready for Memorial Day. Pat would understand. He would know the score. He was a vet, Purple Heart. On Casino Beach in Italy, Pat had lost a buddy, too. But Roy didn't know this. They were practicing in spite of everything. There was tomorrow. Yep, Arnie Wartola, Ted White, Pete Connors were planning the route of the parade tomorrow, listening to Joe Michaels, leader of the band. And down in the lumberyard, there were other preparations. We do our own work here in Stonington. We get ourselves ready by planning ahead. Roy didn't know this, but he'd run across other preparations not quite anticipated. Well, here he was, Joe Pellegrino, a tree surgeon, fixing up our albums in front of the Davis home. And topside, there was Walter Shea. The elms can wait. Ain't every day a sailor comes home. At our fire station, Chief Francis has his boys out to give the engine spit and polish. And out on Island Road, May Hubbard has the World War I uniform out of mothballs. Even the wrap puttees and all. Harold Hubbard is to be marshaled in the parade tomorrow. So he'd better try on that old tunic. Home cooking's done its work. No use making another battle of that balls.
Shouting the battle cry of freedom. It's freedom forever. Hurrah, boys, hurrah. Down with the jackal and up with the star.
Then Nancy saw him, and she was nervous. Roy had sort of pictured it that way. Nancy coming toward him, worried, concerned. She held out her hand, and Roy well, hadn't written her since he landed in the States. But she was there, he was there. For a moment he forgot what was